Hello fans, and welcome to another episode of Screaming from the Bleachers. My name is Alec, and again, as you can tell, we are outside the studio today. However, it's for a more exciting reason, as Pinterpe Productions is in the process of building a new studio for us to produce our shows out of. Again, we thank Pinterpe Productions for helping us shoot, edit, and produce our videos, all the videos you see on Screaming from the Bleachers, including today's. Today's topic is the Monday Night Raw episode from April 17th, 2017. Let's begin. Monday Night Raw opens with a video package highlighting the attack by Braun Strowman of Roman Reigns from the week prior. Then Braun Strowman makes his way down to the ring to what seems like a face pop, even though he's supposed to be a heel. Braun Strowman, basically, I'm going to sum him up in one sentence: a monster who loves his work. You can see him smiling and laughing throughout his promo about the attack. General Manager of Raw, Kurt Angle, makes an appearance. By the way, he should get his pyro back. It was awesome pyro when he was a wrestler. He should have it as a general manager. He informs Braun Strowman that he is off for the episode, and also informs Braun Strowman that he will be facing Roman Reigns at WWE Payback, which makes absolutely no sense because Roman Reigns has reported cracked ribs and a separated shoulder, which takes about a week to 12 weeks of recovery time. And looking at the attack from the week before, I highly doubt it's just a week of recovery time. Braun Strowman informs Kurt Angle that he better have some competition tonight or else. And when Kurt Angle prompts him to say, well, what else? Strowman walks away in typical Strowman fashion. First match of the night pits Chris Jericho versus Samoa Joe with Seth Rollins on commentary. A small video package is played of the attack on Seth Rollins from a few weeks before WrestleMania by Samoa Joe, and also they reference the attack on Chris Jericho by both Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, which is why we have this matchup. Not much to the match. Chris Jericho basically building up Samoa Joe for the match at Payback he has versus Seth Rollins. He taps to the Coquina Clutch, and then Samoa Joe gets on the microphone, references his debut, which was just business in his eyes, but Seth Rollins, he claims, made it personal. And Seth Rollins gets on his mic and says, well, Payback's a bitch. Setting up their match at Payback, which I'm actually very excited to see what they can accomplish at WWE Payback. The next match on the card pits Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson facing off against the Golden Truth. We see Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows walking through the backstage area, and the Drifter is there playing his guitar. And then we move on to the Golden Truth walking through the backstage area, who are attacked by Braun Strowman. Strowman throws Goldust through a cage door, and he kicks R-Truth into a wheelbarrow of sorts. We come back from commercial break, and there's Braun Strowman sitting in his chair, and he's talked to by a referee saying that Kurt Angle gave him the night off and he should leave, and Strowman goes, I'm going to leave when I want to. We then get back to the ring as Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson looking like, well, what are we going to do now? Golden Truth has been injured by Braun Strowman. Who are we going to face? They do make a funny quote. They say, after Golden Truth got the United Airlines treatment, which I thought was a great reference to pop culture. Obviously, everyone knows the United Airlines incident. Then Enzo and Cass come out. Basically, my big riff with this match is that it seems like it's the same formula of every Enzo and Cass match. Cass gets the edge, tags in Enzo. Enzo gets his ass kicked. Has the hot tag to Cass. Cass does his thing. He gets Enzo and Cass back into the match. Then he tags in Enzo, who then they go for their boom shakalaka finisher. Somehow it's countered. Cass does something to get out of the ring, and then Enzo is finished, and the match is over for them. The big thing about this was the finish. Carl Anderson has Enzo up on his shoulders, and he basically just throws him into the top turnbuckle, a knee, hip area, and then he gets the 1, 2, 3, and like I said, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows are your winners. Second hour of Monday Night Raw begins with Miz TV with guest Dean Ambrose, the Intercontinental Champion. Miz goes on a tangent about how Dean Ambrose is not a wrestler. He doesn't represent wrestling very well, but Dean Ambrose gets on the mic and basically says he's not a brand, he's a wrestler. He just fights and fights and fights. It basically ends the segment with Dean Ambrose attacking The Miz again, basically setting up a match between them at some point, possibly Payback. Basically rehearsing what was done months ago with Dean Ambrose and The Miz. Obviously the difference being The Miz was the IC title holder back then. Dean Ambrose, the IC title holder now. During the promo, Miz mentions the fact that Dean Ambrose has brought down the championship. I don't know if it's Dean Ambrose's fault or the writing staff, but the IC title is basically meaningless at this point. We then go backstage to find Braun Strowman has attacked again, and this time it's against Raw newcomer Kalisto. He basically says Roman Reigns is trash and so are you, so he picks up Kalisto, throws him into the trash, seemingly done with his attack. As he's walking away, Big Show plows over him and basically says, why don't you pick on somebody your own size, which sets up their match for later in the evening. Cruiserweight time, as we have TJ Perkins taking on Gentleman Jack Gallagher with Neville and Austin Aries at ringside. Very good match between the two of them. It ends with TJ Perkins doing a somewhat terrible detonation kick. Basically, looks like he just kicks the air and gets the 1-2-3 victory. The main problem I have with this match is that the two wrestlers in the match got basically nothing out of it, other than TJ Perkins got a win, but other than that, it really didn't build either one of them. The main story was the Neville and Austin Aries dilemma, which obviously they have a match at Payback, but I don't like the fact that TJ Perkins and Gentleman Jack Gallagher was basically used to build up another rivalry. I'm going to lump two backstage segments together in this part. We have Titus O'Neil and Apollo Crews talking, and Titus O'Neil talking about the Titus brand, talking about how if you want to go on a trip, go on Apollo Crews, and if you get in trouble on that trip, have Apollo Sues, basically doing his ridiculous shtick of Titus brand, which really isn't getting much traction. We also then have a backstage segment later in the night between the women with Dana Brooke, Alicia Fox, and Emma. Basically, Emma says that Alicia Fox's dilemma from 205 Live has made Dana Brooke laugh and joke, which basically creates a rift between Emma and Dana Brooke, probably setting up a match, I would say probably on the pre-show of Payback. Staying backstage, we have an interview with Raw Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys, basically saying how there's a new scene on Raw, and they're still going to be the same old Hardys and dominate. When Cesaro and Sheamus come into the scene, and Sheamus goes, cannot wait to take those Raw Tag Team Championships off you. Cesaro intercepts and says, my tag team partner doesn't know what he's talking about. Good luck out there, and basically saying he respects the Hardy Boys. Just like at WrestleMania, we have a fatal four-way match between women. This time it's for the #1 contendership for Bayley's Raw Women's Championship between Nia Jax, Mickie James, Alexa Bliss, and Sasha Banks. I am going to skip right to the end because that's where my head almost exploded. How can Nia Jax still be losing? Look at her competition. Mickie James, Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss. Much smaller competitors than she is. Nia Jax is much bigger than these three. She basically dominated the match when she was in it, except for one instance when Alexa Bliss kicked her out of the ring somehow, some way with those legs, kicked Nia Jax out of the ring, and stole her pinfall after the Samoan drop on Sasha Banks. 1, 2, 3. Alexa Bliss is your new #1 contender. Again, how can Nia Jax lose? Oh! We next have Kurt Hawkins on the scene again, somehow, some way. He gets a segment since he's been on Raw, basically saying that, look what happened to the Big Show after he knocked me out. Now he's in the main event against Braun Strowman. So who's basically makes an open challenge, and Finn Balor appears. So basically he had a match where he took no bumps. He got all his stuff in, wins with the coup de grace, 1, 2, 3. Easy win over Kurt Hawkins, who again is still a jobber to the stars. Chris Jericho is then interviewed backstage after his loss to Samoa Joe. Basically saying that Samoa Joe, great athlete, basically talking up Samoa Joe. And then he says his focus has been wavered as he's focusing on Kevin Owens in the United States Championship match he has against him at WWE Payback. A pretty funny interview, as a couple things, as he keeps his shtick up about calling Mike Tom, Mike Tom, basically going through that whole thing. And then the Drifter Elias Sampson actually walks behind him, and before Jericho put Mike Tom on the list, he says, "You're off the hook. I'm putting the Drifter on the list." And he gets the pop that he always gets when he does the list. Chris Jericho showing he's still an amazing wrestler at his heightened age. Bray Wyatt's on Monday Night Raw, except now he's still on the Titantron, doing his Sermon to the Snake, as it was called. I will say I don't agree with this match at Payback between him and Randy Orton, who again is a SmackDown superstar. But I will say this was a very well put together promo, although he didn't really say much with all the scary images that came in and out of the shot. I was extremely creeped out. My fiance was sitting right next to me. She was creeped out. She doesn't even watch wrestling, and she was very scared. So a well put together promo, although Bray Wyatt didn't really say much. We get to the singles match between Cesaro and Jeff Hardy. Pretty straightforward match. Jeff Hardy hits the Swanton Bomb to get the 1-2-3 and the victory. All four men shake hands afterwards, showing an amount of respect. But again, I'm still wondering when one of these teams is going to go evil. Main event time as we have Braun Strowman taking on The Big Show. The match had a lot to it. There was drop kicks from both The Big Show and Braun Strowman, as you know, as big men. That's a very impressive feat. We had Braun Strowman doing a kick-up, which is also big. But let's skip to what everyone has been talking about. The fact that Braun Strowman did a superplex with Big Show and broke the ring. Anytime the ring breaks, it's awesome. I've only seen it twice. Every single time, it's awesome. It's not overused. So anytime it does happen, it's a huge breaking point, and Braun Strowman's push continues. Time for my final thoughts on the evening. I love the push of Braun Strowman. I think with his attack on Roman Reigns last week and all his attacks this week, including his match with Big Show, have pushed him to be the monster that WWE wants him to be, although I don't think they want him to be the face monster. I think they want him to be the heel monster, but that's another video. I liked Chris Jericho's involvement in the evening, the interview more than the match. I liked the dueling promos between Samoa Joe and Seth Rollins building to their match at Payback, which will be awesome. I loved Bray Wyatt's Sermon to the Snake, even though it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I thought it was a well put together promo. And finally, I love the Miz on Miz TV. I think he's showing why he's one of the great heels in the company, and I think he should definitely have one of the mid-card titles. Things I didn't like. I didn't like the fact that neither one of the teams turned heel between the Hardys and Cesaro and Sheamus at this point. I didn't like the Enzo and Cass match profile that seems to be developing. I don't like the Cruiserweight match, not the match itself, but the fact that it didn't do anything for either of the wrestlers who were involved. It did more for the wrestlers who weren't involved. And I especially, as you saw by my reaction, I especially didn't like the result/match, the Fatal 4-Way for the number one contendership to the Raw Women's Championship. I still think Nia Jax should be pushed, given a big push. I think she should be Raw Women's Champion. I'm probably her number one fan. And as you can tell by my reaction earlier in the video, I hate the fact that she lost to Mickie James, Sasha Banks, and Alexa Bliss. Overall, I'm going to give it a B- grade. I thought it was an okay average show. Well, folks, that's the end of my review of Monday Night Raw. Let me know what you thought in the comments section. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, Pinterpe Productions, so you don't miss any episodes of Screaming from the Bleachers. My name's Alec, and you have a good one.